this order form for your clients, it would work on mobile, it works on iPad, it works on like desktop, but I find that the mobile phone is where most people want to submit orders from. So I'm going to log in with a fake account I've made here. I unlock with a PIN, and then it says here, welcome, Acme Incorporated. That's the name of my fake client account. Please submit orders by 2 p.m. Monday. This would only be if you had order windows set up. So the client goes through, and we'll just add one each of these sort of a couple mini cucumbers. And make sure we add some tomatoes as well. So that's fully customizable. As are these images, I just have the tomato for now for all of them. But this is where you would upload an image. They tap review order. They can see all of the items here. Add special notes. And then up here in this notification bell, this is completely optional for them. They can opt into notifications for text or email, or both, for when they submit orders. This would be an automatic PDF summary that goes to their cell or email whenever they submit an order. And then reminders, again, that's irrelevant. That's if you had order windows, sending them a text or an email saying, hey, the order window for this Friday just opened. You've got 2 days to submit. So for now, we'll leave order summary on so I can show you what they receive when they tap submit order. See here it says your order's been submitted. And if I switch over to my text messages here, I'm using a 555 number, so it's not sending me a text this time, but you can see here where I've tested this in the past with my number. It says this is the message they get here. Order submitted, Acme Incorporated, order number 14, here's your items. And then if they tap this URL, it opens up a sort of ready to print PDF of the quantities and items that they just submitted, as well as their notes. And what it looks like on your side, you get the order in. This is the order that was just submitted by Acme. You can open it up. You can review. I'm going to jump ahead a second here just to show you how to quickly make picking sheets out of your orders. So I've just, we've got our Acme order here and then 2 others I've added just temporarily. You can click individual orders or click the top, turn them all on, dot jot, and then you go to PDF orders. And you see here that makes a document with individual pick sheets, which you can then print. But for now, we'll go back to the last page. And I'm probably going to spend the most time here talking about, QuickBooks and the order page here. So why don't we set up QuickBooks integration? I can show you how that works. So if you jump over to settings, integrations, you can see here we're not currently connected to QuickBooks. It's very simple. Just tap connect to QuickBooks. It'll ask for your login information for your account. Selecting company, this is my demo company, Sandbox CA2. So it's got some fake clients and fake products and fake invoices ready to go. And if we pop over integrations here, we can see now QuickBooks data, QuickBooks integration is live. It's got the Sandbox company listed here. We're good to go. And before I send an order to QuickBooks, I want to show 2 things here. One, under the customer view, you can see that right now in QuickBooks, we do not have a company for Acme Incorporated. And the only products and services that we have in our QuickBooks account right now are, I've got a few vegetables in here, including mini cucumbers and, Honeycrisp apples, but I don't have any tomatoes here. So if we pop back over to our order for a second, now that we're connected to QuickBooks, we can open it up. And as I said, you can make changes here. So if a client calls you in a panic or they show up and they want to make changes to their order, you can manually adjust that here, and it automatically makes notes regarding whatever changes you're making to the original order that the customer submitted. And likewise, if you have to reduce quantities because you're short or something, it makes a note of that as well. But at the bottom here, you can see it says mark reviewed. Now there are different statuses, and I'll talk a bit more about statuses in my other video. The default ones are pending for when a new order arrives, reviewed, that's typically to say, okay, this one's good to be picked, and then sent to QuickBooks is to let you know which orders you've actually created an invoice draft for already in QuickBooks. And that happens automatically, which is nice. So if I select this order and go to the additional action menu here, I can send to QuickBooks. And you can see here it's saying, this customer doesn't have a QuickBooks ID yet. We can't find them in QuickBooks. The only potential matches it sees in this case is Kathy's consulting company. And the reason it's saying that is a likely match, I should point out, is because the number 555, it's seeing that it has the identical number. So we're going to go with create new customer, thanks but no thanks. Just create a new customer in QuickBooks and link this account to it. So confirm and send invoices. And there's 3 things that happened over here in QuickBooks. So we can see that Acme Incorporated now exists under customers, and it carried over its phone number. And if we go to products and services, you see we now have our clusters, our wild blueberries, and our red loose bulk grape tomatoes here. And since we already had mini cucumbers, you can see it didn't add another one. It found this one rather than making a duplicate. And it made the invoice. These deleted ones are just from some older testing I did a few days ago. This is what was just made here though. Invoice 1024 for Acme Incorporated. And if we open that up, we see our items carried over, our quantities here, and our rate. And by default, when items first come over, they come with a rate of $1. However, there's a feature that's on by default when you integrate with QuickBooks called historical customer price matching. And what that means is that, yes, when creating invoices, it's going to reference the last price that a given customer paid for an item and use that instead of the default product price. So for example, in here, I can set these to prices specific to Acme Incorporated. Maybe I have like a unique arrangement with them. They get a preferred rate. And let's say I give, $10 here, $15 here, $50, $20, and $35. Now that I've set these prices for these items for this client and saved my invoice, the next time I send an invoice over, it's going to default to these prices for these items for this client. For new clients, it'll go with $1 unless I change the product information under products and services and actually change the default price there. So if I go to wild blueberries, for example, you see the sales price is $1, but I can update this to maybe $11. And now if there's no customer price history, it's going to default to my $11 instead of $1. But the reason this price history option exists is so that you don't have to go, say for example, looking up a previous invoice for a client to figure out, what you were charging them last for a given item, because pricing might vary from customer account to customer account. This just says, okay, here's your invoice draft, and we're pricing it based on the last price you gave to this customer for these items. And then if you make changes to the next invoice, that'll carry forward so that whatever the most recent invoice price was, that's what you get. Now, if we hop back over to Fresh Order, go to Accounts, this Accounts page is where all your customer accounts will live. There's the company name, the phone number that they use to log in, but also that you use to send notifications and order summaries to. There's also a custom URL here. So every single individual customer is going to have their own unique product page. So if you click on this account, you see name, phone number. You can click to edit things like this here. And at the bottom here, there's some stats around like total orders, total items over all time, and then lifetime value. This is actually pushing revenue information from all the invoices in QuickBooks. There's only one invoice right now, but if there were 500, it would tally that up and tell you the lifetime value of the client here. Now, if you go over to menu, this is where you customize the menu for an individual account. Because by default, every new account is going to be made with your master menu settings, which I'll get to in a second. But when it comes time to then personalize that menu, you can do so if you want. You don't have to, but if you wanted to say, only sell tomatoes to this client, you can turn off, berries and cucumbers, and maybe you don't want to sell them grape. Save. And now when you go to their product page, you see they only have tomatoes now. But I'll turn those back on. And you can see here we only have one account, but we had many more accounts in QuickBooks. So there's two ways we can make accounts. If you go over to the plus sign, you add a customer name. Let's say Farmania Inc. Sure, we'll go 555 555 5554. And just put a fake email here, customer@example.com. Sounds good. This is the URL that it's going to make for you. As you see, it's got your organization name in it and then their name at the tail end. This is how they'll access their order page. You hit create account, and it takes you to the account page for Farmania. If we go to accounts now, we can see it listed here. Now, you can do it this way manually. That's totally fine. And then when you submit your first order, it'll see name matches or phone number matches or just likely matches with your existing QuickBooks account and say, hey, we found an account in QuickBooks called Farmania Incorporated that has the same phone number. Do you want to link your account to that one in QuickBooks so that all invoices go there? But a simpler way to do that, that'll get you all of your customer accounts in one go, is by going over to the Settings tab, Integrations, and under QuickBooks Integration, you'll see QuickBooks Data Sync here. And you can see we have 1 out of 1 customer linked so far, but there are 19 additional customers in QuickBooks not yet in fresh order. So when we click Import More Customers, it gives you the choice. Who do you want to bring in? And you can select all, or maybe there's a couple here that we want to leave off. You hit Import Selected, and success. If we go into our accounts now, we can see that we've now brought in all of our accounts from QuickBooks that we wanted. It's taken their phone number, their company name, and generated a custom URL for them each to access their own custom menu. And like I said, by default, every new account is going to have your master menu items here that you can customize and tweak on an account-to-account basis. But if you want to update your master menu, that's under Settings. And you can see here we have 4 categories at the moment. You click plus if you'd like to add, say, a new category. Let's call this one, vegetables. And broccoli seems like a good vegetable to use as an emoji. And we click plus again, say add products. Maybe carrots, and 15-pound box. Select a category, and this is where you'd select your image as well. Active product just means it's going to show up on the customer menu. Click add product, and right away we can click the drop down and see carrots. Now, your master menu page, you can rearrange the order of categories. You can rearrange how the order that the items appear within categories, and you can also drag items across categories. So I move beefsteak to vegetables. I'm going to put it back though over to tomatoes now. And you notice there's also this QuickBooks Imports category, and that's hidden. That means that this will never be visible to the client, because what this is going to show us is all the products that we bring over from QuickBooks. So just like we brought over customers via the QuickBooks integration here and made new accounts, we're now going to go into the existing products and services, and we're going to import these rather than making individual items. So we go here, and once again, we're going to go Integrations, and click on Products this time, and import more from QuickBooks. You can select all, and then maybe turn off ones that aren't relevant, like hours and services, and import the rest. You can see the only ones it didn't bring over, hours and services, because I didn't select them, and mini cucumbers, and that's because it already has established a link between mini cucumbers when we sent that first invoice over. If we go over to our master menu now, you can see we have 5 items in our QuickBook Imports category, so they're not yet visible, right? They're hidden, they're in the hidden category. Now we would just drag them to their respective categories. And now anytime someone orders one of these items, that information is going to be logged both in fresh order and in your QuickBooks product history. Now that's how you set up your accounts using the QuickBooks integration. It's how you bring products in via the QuickBooks integration. And we've looked at how we actually send orders through as draft invoices, matching up accounts to customers and items to products in QuickBooks. But in your case, when you have a lot of walk-ups, you're going to have to make some orders on the spot. To do that, on the orders page, you click the plus button. And this is letting you manually create an order, picking a customer, go Farmania here, and selecting a category. Let's throw on some loose bulks, change the quantities, go back, we'll go berries, add some blueberries, maybe some notes here. Create the order, and there it is. Now the other thing is,
maybe the lineup is particularly long, or you're away from the office for a couple of minutes. One idea, and I'm going to elaborate a bit on this some more in the next video, but we could build an on-premise kiosk here that's just an iPad. I call it the iPad on the stick, that runs Kiosk Mode, so that both existing clients and clients without an account yet can use this as like a self-serve to establish an account if they don't have one already, or access their account, add their items, and submit an order. And the other thing we can do, put aside that, is scan an order. This is a QR code, so that, again, it'd be the same experience except on their own mobile device. They scan, and it leads to a page where they can enter their phone number, enter their PIN, or create a new account if they don't have one. We'll take a minute just to go through that experience now. This is roughly the orientation of an iPad standing straight up. And the way you'd access or put this iPad into kiosk mode is you go to orders, and there's a little thing right here that says launch kiosk. There's also a kiosk setup guide here that explains a couple of things, like how to make a shortcut on your iPad so that you don't have to go through this next time, but just tap a button to put it into kiosk mode, as well as something called guided assistance. And what that does is it locks the iPad to the Fresh Order kiosk app so that people can't move around your iPad, go to different apps, accidentally lock themselves out, that kind of thing. This is what they'd see on the kiosk. Welcome, let's enter your phone number to get started. Let's go with 555-555-4. And you can see here, if it finds you, it says, hey, is this you? Confirm. You say, yes, that's me. It's going to ask for a PIN. Or in this case, I have to still create a PIN for this account, so it's actually going to have me generate my PIN for the first time. But if I didn't have an account on file, let's call this a number that it doesn't recognize. It says, hey, we don't have an account for 555-5556. Let's set one up. Enter your business name, Paul's Potatoes, create account, and we set a PIN. We're ready to submit, to select and submit an order on the spot. And what's cool is that now this person has a permanent account in your system, which means they now have their own custom order page. And because they use their phone number as a login, we can send them a text at the end of all of this to say, hey, now that you've got an account, if you'd like to pre-order next time, here's the link that you would follow to do this on your mobile device. And the idea behind that would be, let's use this kiosk not only to save people time when there's a lineup, but also to kind of help nudge some of those people towards early ordering. It's like the more people we can get submitting before they're even on their way to the market via their phone, the better. And this kind of lets us do that with a gentle nudge at the end to say, hey, if you want to save time next time, use the mobile app on your phone. Here's a link to your personal order page. And we'll just submit a couple of things here, review, and submit. And you notice there's a unique pop-up here. This only happens in kiosk mode. And the idea is that one thing we know for certain when somebody places an order at the kiosk is that they are on premises and they're looking to get their order ASAP. So this pops up saying, where should we bring your order? And we can refine the language here to be more accurate with how the food terminal goes. But let's say they do, Bay 7. They hit save location. And they say, hey, order received. We'll text you when it's on the way to Bay 7. And again, because we're using their phone number, and then it resets for the next user. But because they're using their phone number to log in, we can use that number to text them from the dashboard. And maybe you want to do that manually, text Paul's Potatoes, text multiple accounts, or you can do it by status, right? We could add an additional status here called mark as picked or marked as ready. And whenever you switch it to that, it would initiate and send a text to this phone number. And just for reference, if they didn't know their location or for some reason they didn't want to share it, they could skip. And then they get a different message which says, hey, we'll text you when it's ready. So that's probably a good place to wrap this video. In the next video, it'll be more like a whiteboard style where we can sort of widen out and take a look at your existing order fulfillment chain and where I see this fitting into it without overburdening your team or introducing a bunch of unnecessary complexity and without really changing your existing flow all that much.